bigger now. Woo, it's okay.
It's funny.
I know. Yeah, they're a lot bigger now. So yeah, this is one of the silver laced Wyandottes, and as you can see, they're getting their pretty color. It's not a definite pattern now, but they are getting there. And I have to use 2 hands with them now instead of just one. So I'm gonna put her back.
I want to.
Mm-hmm. As you can see behind me, this area that was a grass jungle and a mess, I have cleaned up. I got in here one day, let my son out to play in the backyard as much as he wanted, and got out here and pulled all the grass by hand. I probably should have worn gloves because I ended up with a few ant bites, but I pulled up all the grass, and now we've just mowed back here. We put a bag on the mower and dumped it several times into the back here. So that's that pile of grass clippings and leaves that have been mulched up, and I'm sitting those directly on the garden to let them break down and kind of suppress the weeds a bit more. But as you can see behind me, the sunflowers are starting to bloom. They're not as big as I thought they'd be. They're what's called super snacks, and I was gonna grow the mammoth ones, but it turns out the seeds I had for the mammoth ones were actually bad and they did not germinate. So maybe next year I'll try the mammoth ones, but these are actually kind of pretty. They're just getting started, so they probably will be bigger by the end of it, so we'll see. The ones in the back here along the back are honey bears. They're multi-flowered sunflowers, so they'll have multiple heads, but they are not opening just yet, so we'll see if they catch up. And I also just wanted to share off what are you doing? Come here.
I want pieces.
You want to be in the picture? Okay. This is my husband's Tamukiyama Japanese maple, and it's just beautiful. So it's gotten so big since we planted it, and even though it's not big by tree standards, it's still really pretty. So over here we've got our grass clipping pile from mowing. Here's the blackberries. The old leaves are pretty spotted, but as you can see, there's new canes coming up. So the ants are crawling all over it. They're pretty protective of it, so I have to wear gloves to pick, or else I come off with a little bit of ant bites on my fingers. But these are pretty much spent for right now, and they're supposed to be everbearing, so we'll see if we get another flush in the fall, but I have no idea with blackberries because usually they are not everbearing, so we'll see if this variety holds up to its advertisement. And right beside it, I took the hoe and removed the grass, and it was fairly easy. It's mostly wandering violet or creeping violet, whatever that is, but I planted tons of zinnias. Along the middle row I did sunflowers. They're a smaller type of sunflower called moonshine that's supposed to be really pretty. So these are all cut flowers that I'll grow and take inside to just make my home pretty, so that'll be really fun. I haven't done that before, and I'm looking forward to it. So you might not be able to tell right now, but there is a watermelon in here. I'll try to show you. There he is. He's about the size of a baseball now, so I want to use some knee-high stockings and some twine in order to tie him up give him a little more support so it's not pulling on the vine really heavily. Now the vine may still support him until he gets quite a bit bigger, but when the melon ripens, once it's fully ripe, the vine will let go of the melon, and the higher up off the ground, because I'm trellising them up to 10 feet high, they have a chance of falling and splitting and breaking. So I don't want them to do that, and the knee highs will expand in order to let them get bigger and bigger without restricting them. So it's not going to make them have a funny shape or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and show y'all how I do that. Okay, so here I have one I already did, and it was quite a bit smaller when I did this, but it's still doing pretty good. So I'm going to take my twine and cut off probably about that much, and once I have my knee-high stocking around the melon, I will kind of squinch up the top of the knee-high stocking and use the twine to tie a bit of that top real tightly, and then tie the other end of the twine to the trellis. So I'm not directly tying the knee-high stocking to the trellis, which, I mean, you can do, but it'd be kind of awkward. It might not hold as well. So I'm going to do it this way. This is the way I saw Jess from Roots and Refuge Farm do it, and a couple other garden tubers. So I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. I just want to make sure it's tight enough so that it's going to lift up the melon just a bit. Tie it to the trellis. There we go. So that's the second one of the watermelons that I've trellised, but I also have some other melons to show you. I wanted to do this before I did the rest of the garden tour, because I wanted to show you how I do this in case you might want to do this for yourself, especially if you're growing melons upwards, because we want to save space as much as we can, and these 10-foot trellises are great for melons, cucumbers, other vining things. So other than having to support them a little bit like this with the knee-high stockings, we love using this method. So I'll go ahead and show you the rest of the garden now. So just want you to see how much growth these trellises have on them, how many flowers, pumpkin flowers, melon flowers, cucumber flowers. There's just so many. I'm proud to say I have my first baby Kajari melon. And there he is. So fuzzy and soft. They weren't doing so well at the beginning of the season. I think the fluctuating weather, getting really hot and then fairly chilly, just kind of set them back. But they are going crazy now. Like, one of them is very, very high up, so they're doing really good. Here is another. Oh, this one surprised me. This one I need to tie up. I think this is a Kajari melon. I thought this was a ice cream melon that was growing, but I think that's a Kajari, and wow, I didn't even know he was here. They're a bit camouflaged sometimes, especially behind some of the leaves. Like, as you can see, you can almost miss him if you're not looking. So, but here is a ice cream melon. So As you can see, he's pretty big. I gotta tie him up too. Here's another one coming along. And another one. This ice cream melon's also called green machine because it just churns out melons. Just tons and tons of melons. So I'm actually really looking forward to the amount of melons we get. And they should be really sweet. Almost like a mix between a cantaloupe and a honeydew. And just really juicy and sweet. So this is the first year I've gotten them to grow successfully, so I'm very, very happy with that. And as you can see, there's little bees everywhere. They love all these flowers. I have had a couple of squash bugs, or whatever those orange ladybug looking beetles are, squash beetles, but they are attacking some things. I've found some eggs, but minimal damage at this point. I'm not hugely worried. I don't even know if I can find one to show you. But these are the pumpkins. My son's pumpkins that he picked out the seeds for. And would not let me put them back. So we had to bring them home and plant them. So just out of 4 pumpkin plants, he has got so many going that, I don't know, next year maybe we won't do 4, or maybe we'll make more room for them. But they are just prolific. And so many male blossoms attracting bees. It's just amazing. See, there's a bee in there too. Nope. Another one tried to take his spot, but it was occupied. He's down there really having a good time. So this right here is the West India burr gherkin. It's not a true cucumber, as you can see from the leaves. It is a melon, sort of. Ooh, it's a grasshopper. Hopefully he's not eating my leaves. But here, ow, spiky, is a baby burr gherkin. Some of the burrs even curl. That's so cool. But it's so spiky. I really need to handle it with gloves or it's going to irritate my fingers. But here's another baby one. But yeah, it's finally putting on gherkins, so I'm really excited to try those. And then my lemon cucumbers have kind of hit pause. There's a few down in the bottom here. I might need to pick that one soon. But they don't get very big. They get about the size of a lemon. So that's really when you pick them. If you let them get too big, they do get very seedy. But even then, they taste pretty good. Their skin is very thin. Their skin's not bitter. So they do really, really well. The Armenians, I picked an Armenian recently. They are starting to come on. There's an Armenian. Focus. And there's an Armenian. They're very fuzzy sometimes. But I picked one that was down near the bottom. Oop, you can see. There's one. They're very long and skinny. And I've heard you want to pick them when they're about 1 foot long. So I went ahead and picked the other one I found because it was almost that size. And I'm going to try it soon. Look at this. This is another one of those super snacks. You can see that something likes to eat it. But the plant is doing just fine. Here is my okra. I've got some to pick, you can see back in there. So much okra. Ooh, the blossoms. You can see some of the blossoms are open. The blossoms are just beautiful. Hopefully I can show you. hard to squeeze in here. There it is. So pretty. So even if you don't like to eat okra, you can still grow it for the blossoms if you want. Now I'll take you around the other side to show you the squash. I've actually got quite a bit to tell you about that, but let's go look at the tomatoes first. So here's the tomatillos. As you can see, they are so tall. There's so much of them. If you plant tomatillos, please don't plant more than 2 maybe. This is 2. So if you think you might need more than this for your family or for what you want to make, that's, you know, up to you. But 2 of them is way more. I actually may have to trim back on this side where it's kind of going over into the tomatoes. But these Chef's Choice are just doing so good. I've got so many tomatoes. These are the Chef's Choice pink. You got more blossoms coming up. Oh my goodness. If all of those turn into those big tomatoes, I'm gonna have to help support it or something. There's so many of them. I've got them in these little cages, but these may not be enough. I may have to get a few more stakes or something to help support these that are not on the trellis fence. So, oops. We have a little bit of cracking. This was a fasciated blossom, so you can see that sometimes it makes cracks and causes rot to get up in there. So that one may be one I have to remove, but for right now, I'm just seeing what it does. It's no harm, no foul on me, because I'm sure I'm gonna have plenty of other tomatoes too. Most of the fasciated blossoms I've seen though were early blossoms, so maybe something with the weather has to do with it. I'm not sure. Here is a Thai basil plant. I kind of made a mistake in planting him. I wanted to plant basil. As you can see, there is basil, opal basil and cinnamon basil in between the tomato plants, but this Thai basil, I forgot that Thai basil gets very tall. It smells wonderful, and I have to pick it quite a bit to keep it from flowering too early. I just pick it right above where it's growing new leaves, right there, and it'll bush out even more. So it smells so good. It smells almost almost a little bit like cinnamon. It doesn't smell completely like basil at all, but got more. This is a Mr. Stripey. It's so, yeah, it looks so good. I'm so happy with my tomatoes this year. Not all of them made it. Here's one I got a trellis up, and it is putting on. This, I think, is a Russian purple. I'm not certain, but I think it is. These are Big Mama hybrid paste tomatoes, which I heard get blossom end rot, but oop, and there's an example. I didn't even know that. So, happens on camera. This one gets blossom end rot fairly easily. So, I'm probably going to crush up some Tums, put it in the soil to try to get this to stop. I don't know if this one is just an early season one that didn't quite have a good start, because let's see, yep, it's happening on the other ones too. So let's take that one off. We don't want to attract bugs with this rot, so I'm gonna toss them out there. But I'm gonna keep an eye on them. I heard that they get blossom end rot even when other tomatoes in the same exact area do not. I don't know what's up with that, or why it would do that. But here's a Big Mama paste tomato, and See, it's got a little bit of it. Tiny bit. So I'm going to do the method of using the Tums, crush them up in some water and water it in, but I don't know if it's actually going to help it at this point, but we'll see. I'm hoping that maybe some of the later tomatoes we get up on the vines will do a lot better after that. So that's one thing I gotta do. There are two peppers that are here, and I believe they are both Zulu bell peppers. They're supposed to get like a blackish, purplish bell pepper. They're the only two of my peppers that survived. And as you can see, I went ahead and replanted 3 gray zucchini and 3 custard squash down here. I don't know if I'll keep any of them. I might just keep the strongest ones because I'm having trouble with the other ones. This area is just so moist and so damp. Ooh, I just spotted something. Look, my midnight snack cherry tomatoes. I was just telling somebody I didn't have a single cherry tomato yet, and now I do. They're not ripe by any means, but as you can see, they get the purple shoulders from where the sun hits them. So the anthocyanins are supposed to be very good for you, but I'm so excited to try those. And then, so I don't have anything in those spaces in between the peppers. I've decided to let the peppers breathe a bit. Look at my ground cherries. This is amazing. These first 6 are pineapple ground cherries, and as you can see, they're starting to make little lanterns. There's one. Ooh, that's a good one. And once the lanterns get kind of papery, you can come in here and pick and eat them. And then I have Aunt Molly's down here. So these are Aunt Molly's. I will say that the Aunt Molly's tend to be a little bit taller than the pineapple ground cherries, but that's okay. So far I've had very good luck with them. They do get flea beetles, as you can see, but nothing that the plant doesn't seem to handle very well, so they don't tend to complain. So, and of course my red adzuki beans are flowering like crazy. They are getting some pods. Let's see if I can show you. Here are some pods. I'm growing them just for fun, so this is definitely not enough to provide for what I would want to eat. But we'll see exactly how many I get off of each plant. I mean, the plants are loaded with blossoms and buds that haven't even opened yet, so they're just getting started actually. They might be kind of a late hot summer crop, but they are doing pretty well. And I will be making mung bean sprouts with them, with the seeds, once I harvest them, so that will be really good and nutritious. Might make some ramen or something. But here is what I've had to do with my blueberries. The pie pans do not work. The birds do not care. But as you can see, the only place I have some that are ripening are in these bags. I went on to Amazon and bought, I think, 1,000 of these organza bags. They're the largest size I could find. I think they're like 9 by 6. And I put them over every stem. As you can see, like this one, nothing's ripening. Because as soon as they start to get any kind of color on them, they're not even ripe yet, the birds will attack them. And as you can see, the birds have left that alone. I might have to do that each year with these bags. It's going to be a pain in the butt, and it's a pain in the butt to try to harvest from a little bit, but it might be the only way I get berries, because the birds here are just really, really vicious about the berries. and I've got to harvest again. I've already gotten maybe a couple cups from saving them this way. And as you can see, some of them are in the middle of the limb, so I can't put a bag there. So some are just going to get lost. And this one, the bag's covering some, but I can't cover these. So it's not a foolproof method by any means. But last year I put the bird nets over them and ended up with several birds getting caught and tangled in them and dying. And I really rather avoid that, because as much as I don't like the birds stealing all of these berries so viciously, I don't mind sharing, but they don't share. They just completely destroy them and knock off unripe berries too. So I was like, I can't have that. But I don't want them to get tangled and die like that around my blueberries. So this is kind of the option I came up with. Okay, so now we're back at the squash. As you can see, there's a definite difference here than the last time. I had to rip out 3 plants, and mainly this is because some of the plants had vine borers in them and were already looking kind of sickly. They weren't producing, so I went ahead and pulled them up and gave one of the other ones a chance to do something. So 2 cucuzelles came out, 1 cucuzelle stayed. As you can see, it's a huge plant, still not producing anything. It's still just producing male blossoms and leaves, so I'm not really sure if I'm going to let it stay either. But there are gray zucchini. I kept 2 of the grays, pulled 1 out for leaf damage. It had a lot of like spot and mildew, so I took those out. Again, the moisture here is just a problem. When it rains several days in a row, everything just suffers. So, but as you can see, the custard squash is doing great. I had 1 custard squash that mildewed. As you can see, there's that kind of fuzzy fungus on the blossom. I think that's what happened to it, is the blossom itself started rotting, and I'll have to watch that one because they're not falling off. So I may just take something while we're here and try to knock that off. There we go. Oh, I see it getting on the squash though. Darn it. I might have lost that one. But we'll see. I lost one to fungus, and it's not fun. It's just too, even right now it's so humid. And we're gonna get a couple days straight of no rain, so I'm actually letting the garden kind of dry out. Everything seems to be fine with it, nothing's wilting, so I'm just gonna let it go for a little bit and dry out. So we are gonna get some rain towards the weekend, but for at least 4 or 5 days in a row, we're not gonna have any rain. Here's one of those boogers. I've picked off a bunch of them and smushed them recently, so I'll do the same to him. But that's what they look like. Here's what I did with my artichokes. So as you can see, they are out here in the garden now. And I brought them back here because I didn't think they were getting enough sun where they were near the porch. But they are acclimating. I want them to get a little bit bigger and have a good bushy set of leaves before I transplant them into where they're actually gonna go. So I have 5 of them because the 6th one is no more. So I've got a huge pile of the squash plants I ripped out and grass clippings, And I'm just gonna let it break down right here on this plastic. And I've got another pile there. We did a lot of mowing yesterday, so these are fresh grass piles. So this will break down, and then once it breaks down a little bit, I'll move it to underneath this black mat and kind of put it in a row towards the center, build that up. That's where the artichokes are gonna go. So that's gonna be their final home down here. But I really need to build up the soil here really high, because this whole area here floods when it rains. I'm gonna try to alleviate that by trying to divert the water that comes into the yard off the road. I'm gonna try to divert it where it's supposed to go, which is all the way down the road and into the storm drain, to avoid it coming back here. But this is the low point for this street, and all the water comes here. So gonna put all that to build up the middle of this, and just keep building it up and keep building it up, and then it'll have a nice good place for me to plant my artichokes when they're ready. And then here is the bean tent, which is really growing great. I did plant more beans around the edge. I do need to water those in a little bit more. That's probably the only thing I'm going to water right now. So, but there's more beans on here than I know what to do with. And I let one go to see how it would look as it got older and older and drier and drier. So it's not green with brown stripes anymore. It's turning tan. So it's starting to get older. And so you wouldn't want to eat it like a green bean at this stage necessarily. Oh, hello, Calypso. I know. She's so demanding. But yeah. Still flowering. Still tons of beans I haven't picked. And I may just let some of them just go to seed, because these have just been fun for me to grow. I don't have a lot of recipes or things that I can do with beans at this point. I like them when they're cooked southern style, so cooked very well, and until they're soft and flavored with usually bacon or something like that. So, but it's been fun to grow, and my little boy hasn't really gotten in it a whole lot, but he likes coming out here and picking the beans, even if we don't end up keeping them or they're a little too far gone. It's just fun for him, and sometimes that's all that matters. Just about every day, maybe twice a day, and just weave in these vines. If they get attached in the wrong spot, I might snap their little grabby vines and pull them over to the right spot, and they'll re-grab onto things. But they are way up on the top of the trellis now. That's the ice cream melon. So, but this is so cool. So I will leave y'all with this image of an awesome Kajuri melon, and I will see y'all in the next video. Please like if you liked, and subscribe for more videos like this, documenting this garden and how it evolves, changes, and grows. And I will see you next time. Bye.